Scorsese's masterpiece, Taxi Driver.
If I were going to be like trapped on a desert island and I could go to video archives before I was going to get trapped on a desert island, Taxi Driver would be one of the films I brought with me. Robert De Niro, Jodie Foster, Scorsese a little bit, Cybil Shepherd, Harvey Keitel. He has one of the finest performances in this movie, as we all know, sport.
Not only is this, unarguably one of the greatest movies ever made, definitely, absolutely, positively, unarguably one of the greatest movies of the 70s, if not the greatest. And it's also one of my top 5 favorite movies. Whew. What to say about Taxi Driver hasn't already been said. What to say about Taxi Driver that's profound that you can't read in Paul and Keitel? Well, I'll do my best. One of the things about Taxi Driver that is just so magnificent, as I actually do feel that it may be the greatest first-person character study ever committed to film. I mean, I really actually can't even think of a second or a third or a fourth that can even come into contention with it.
It's like a great novel in the way it tells its story, and it presents this guy, sickness and all right, and it presents him from his point of view, and it manages to do it in a very interesting way. It presents the movie from his point of view. You see the movie through his eyes. You actually, are repelled by these black pimps in the diner, the way he is. Even if you wouldn't be or not, you might be repelled. I'd be repelled anytime by pimps, all right? But almost the fact that they're black repels you because you're seeing it through his warped eyes. But like you never feel that like the filmmakers are like Travis Bickle, but you never feel that they've condemned him either. There's a purity enough in him to present him as he is. And it's one of the things that I remember when I was in my 20s, living in Hollywood, with just the whole, debris around there, all the pimps and the wackos and the whores and all that, walking down the street. Me and my friends, we'd, walk down the street and go, boy, you can really appreciate how Travis Bickle feels, when you walk down Hollywood Boulevard at night, day in and day out.
One of the things about Taxi Driver that is just, to me, so amazing is not only is it this wonderful character study of this, to put it lightly, troubled individual. What's so fascinating about the character study is it truly puts you in the point of view of this man. If you've ever been lonely and lived in a ghetto area, and it's easy to feel Travis Bickle's kind of feelings of all alone me versus my environment, and the movie actually encourages that kind of empathy with a very questionable character.
What's special about that in an actor is, in particularly, a lot of stars, for instance, don't want to go that far with a character. Don't want to completely alienate the audience. They want to remain likable. And this never seems to have worked into Niro's thought process of how can I be more likable.
You see through his eyes so strongly. I mean, from one of the criticisms that was labeled against the movie when it first came out, which was wrong but very understandable for a lot of viewers to mistake, is the fact that the film was racist. Actually, the film is not racist at all, but it is a movie about a racist. Not only is it a movie about a racist, it's a first-person study of a movie about a racist. So actually, you do see the world through Travis Bickle's eyes, and through those eyes, he makes, the black pimps and the black characters on the street, they are repellent. And he flinches away from them at all times. And since you are looking through his eyes, you do as well. One of the things that actually could be crippling for the movie, and thematically, you could even say it's the film's big flaw, which actually by the end of the movie doesn't turn out to be. But thematically, you could say the film's compromise is that for all of Travis Bickle's racism, when it kind of comes down to taking out a gun and shooting people, he doesn't shoot any black people. That the flesh merchants happen to be all white, and the pimp actually is a white pimp, which frankly is highly unlikely. in that world.
The unicorn. The screenwriter unicorn of the 70s and the early 80s is the white pimp. Harvey Keitel in Sport is definitely the best depiction of it. Even though I don't quite buy it, Harvey Keitel's so great in the movie. It's like the Taxi Driver without Harvey Keitel. What the fuck would that even be? They changed the character of the pimp that Paul Schrader wrote from black to white, basically because the producers are scared of it. They're uncomfortable with the imagery, and Columbia is uncomfortable with the imagery. Now, oddly enough, Columbia Pictures had no problem with all the murdering, scheming, and plotting and killing Caribbean brothers in the deep.
That's right.
But Taxi Driver apparently was a bridge too far. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they scared. I think they scared Scorsese. They say, "Hey, look, the race riots of a few years ago have cast a long shadow, and it would take only one big incident of violence during the opening couple of weeks to happen in the theater, and the film might just be pulled from general release for public safety." But the thing about it, though, is so they changed it to white, which at the end of the day, I'm sure Scorsese was coming from a place where it's like, well, if there even is a chance of the film being pulled and not being theatrically released, I don't want to take that chance. But also, he was looking for a good character for Harvey Keitel to play anyway. And he had even offered Harvey the Albert Brooks role, but Harvey turned it down. So this opened up a good role for Harvey. So, okay, all the better. But then Harvey pressed the fraudulent aspect by saying, okay, well, let me meet a white New York pimp so I can meet him and I can study him for the character. Well, then it became Schrader's job to go out in New York and search for this screenwriting 70s movie unicorn that does not exist in real life called the New York White Street Pimp. And guess what? He didn't find them since they didn't exist.
Not that there weren't such thing as white pimps, but it is highly unlikely that Iris's pimp would be white. And it is highly unlikely that when Bickle does come to bear arms, he would bear them against white people as opposed to black people who have the same job. Having said that, what could be a crippling, what's the word I'm looking for? Contrivance. What could be a crippling contrivance ends up not being that. For one reason. Harvey Keitel. His performance is so magnificent as the pimp Sport, and his work with De Niro is of such an exquisite nature, as well as his work with Jodie Foster, which actually is about the only sequence in the movie that is not told from Travis Bickle's perspective, their dance scene, is of such quality, and his work as Sport is so magnetic and strangely personable that actually what could be a crippling contrivance isn't. It just goes away. Not only that, you can't imagine Taxi Driver without Harvey Keitel. What would that be? Some of the other qualities about Taxi Driver is with such a forward thrust of this first person character, one of the things that's so fascinating about it is all the other little bits that find itself in the movie, bits that are completely at odds with this tone of a madman's diary, which is more or less what we're dealing with here. For instance, some of the favorite bits in the film are the little scenes between Cybil Shepherd and Albert Brooks. And when those moments happen, I think in the 70s, the first thing you thought of was the front page, because it has that kind of snappy patter. But then later, it's impossible now to watch it with all of a sudden, without thinking broadcast news has all of a sudden, shown up in Times Square, and little scenes, quick witty scenes from broadcast news have somehow inserted themselves into Taxi Driver. And I think it's obvious that for me as a filmmaker, I'm a lover of turning on a dime, and that's definitely a situation where that happens.